advise the 16 you don't see him there?
Hi, and welcome to another episode of On the Job with PORAC. I'm Brian Marvel, President of PORAC. With me is PORAC Vice President Damon Kurtz. Today we're hosting PORAC Executive Committee member Barry Donelan and PORAC Central Coast Chapter Director Mike Pruger to talk about the success of their Fund a Hero campaigns that were hosted by their association and the benefits they raised. Back in December, Oakland POA was raising money for kids of former Oakland Police Sgt. Mark Dunakin and his wife Angela, who both lost their lives in a 10-year span. Sergeant Dunakin was violently murdered while serving as an Oakland police officer on March 21, 2009. Within weeks, the goal of raising $60,000 had been reached. And just south of Oakland, Santa Cruz DSA helped raise over $800,000 for the family of Santa Cruz Sheriff Sergeant Damon Gutzwiller, who was shot and killed in the line of duty on June 6, 2020. The main reason for this episode is to talk about the Fund a Hero program, and I know Damon was an integral part of creating this, and maybe you can talk a little bit about how it came about and why we put it together.
Well, upon my election, Vice President is one of the goals that we had, putting together some sort of a fundraising mechanism, crowdfunding mechanism that was not a profit organization, something that makes money. One of the problems that I saw with the most popular one out there, GoFundMe, was you really didn't have control who put together a fundraising effort or where the money went. In my agency back in Fresno, we had an officer who lost a child in a traffic accident, and there was a fundraiser done. But the fundraiser wasn't done by that officer, and the money never went to help with the issues related to the child's death, and that was a problem. And then later, Barry had an officer involved in a really horrific traffic collision, and the money was tied up due to red tape, and the family never really saw any relief out of that. And so that was a problem for me. And so we sat down and came up with this plan with PORAC and staff and you to create a PORAC funding mechanism here that was ours and that we could do for our members, that could protect them from fraud and make sure that the monies goes to the right place and that we're helping our members, because ultimately that's the goal of every organization, is to help their members. We're associations, we're all funded or started as widows and orphans funds. We've morphed over the years for advocacy and, contracts and things like that. But, at the nexus of what we are about is helping our members and their families. And that's what this is about.
Yeah, I think it's a statewide issue. We also experienced a similar situation where we had a line of duty death of an officer, and all of these GoFundMes popped up. Raising money for the family. None of them were legitimate, required a lot of staff time to reach out to these folks and reach out to GoFundMe to close these accounts down as we were trying to fundraise as an association. And also, with PORAC having the Fund a Hero campaign, this allows people, if you're a PORAC member and you hear about an officer, line of duty death, or somebody that needs help, their first place they should go is our PORAC website. We're sort of the blue check mark on fundraisers for law enforcement in the state of California because of how big we are. And the other issue is GoFundMe type of accounts. They can close the accounts at a whim. They may not like the officer or the circumstances surrounding the incident, and they will close that fund down. We're here at PORAC, if it's a line of duty death and it's supporting a family of a line of duty death officer, we're going to have it open. And the good thing for us is PORAC as a board has decided to cover the expenses associated with processing the credit cards. I don't think there's any other funds out there that do what we do to make sure that the family is made whole. Back to Barry and yours. Yours was sort of like our kickoff of the program, and it really did a good job. How was it? How did your members receive this new platform? And, overall, how was it received, I guess, within your department?
So the irony is that the problems we had with another fundraiser connected to GoFundMe is what sparked us ultimately using Fund a Hero. And it was a certain amount of irony to the fact that ultimately Oakland was the very first user of the platform. I got to tell you, I think both the members and the wider community in Oakland and in the region who stepped up to help these three kids who were left without their parents after a litany of tragedies really appreciated the fact that the money that they contributed went to the family. This is the essence of what PORAC does. This is cops helping cops. And that's what this program and this campaign did. The exorbitant fees that we saw associated with using other platforms were eliminated. So when a member in the police department or a citizen of Oakland made that contribution, it went directly to that family. And as an association leader, you know that the PORAC brand is trusted, this campaign and its platform is trusted, so you know that that money is going to the family that you're sponsoring. And the ease at which, even for the initial campaign, it went is really a testament not just to the leadership of PORAC, but to the staff here at headquarters who got all the bugs out for us and got it up and running and ensured that this family was helped out significantly by the money that was raised for them.
And then now, Mike, so your campaign was the biggest one we've ever had. I was praying that we would get to $1 million. We almost got there. But what did your members, what kind of feedback did you get from the community, from your membership? I mean, yours was really, I think, took us over the top in letting people know that this platform is legitimate. We're here to help our members, and we've shown that we have a really good track record of doing that.
Yeah, I think what helped us was a lot of messaging. Our tragedy occurred on June 6th, and by 6 o'clock in the morning, I was trying to contact somebody up here on June 7th to begin the process, which takes time to get through the process, but once it does, you're able to get it up and running. And we started, I believe, at 25 or 50,000, and within a couple hours, we already surpassed that amount. What we did maybe a little differently is we got it out on the Facebook and the internet, and we started asking people to share it throughout their communities. So by putting it out on Facebook, I believe we had 800 shares within that first week throughout our community and so the law enforcement community. We received donations from every state in the nation. So the messaging that went out in the broad sense allowed us to really bring in the amount of money that we did. I was starting to get a little embarrassed, to be honest with you, in that we were getting such outpour of love for what had happened, and I was constantly calling Damon, raising the amount up and up to the point where we finally said, let's go for $1 million, and we came short, but it was this money is going to do nothing but help this family. And Damon left behind one son and a daughter that was born 3 weeks after he passed away. So this monies are going to help for years and years to come.
You mentioned something in there about pushing it out, through social media, the media. I know I went down there and met with you and your sheriff was really good about putting it out. And I think that's a message that really, if we can drive anything home during this podcast to the, association leadership that's listening, and should you ever have to use this platform, that's super important, that you take it upon yourself and your leadership at your organization to push this out into your community. The lion's share of the money is going to come from your local community, because that's where the emotional connection is going to be. Your situation was a little bit different. It made national news, which helped obviously tremendously with the fundraising efforts. But having the local association to put out press releases and put it out on social media and work with their chief or sheriff to put that out, and then not to just leave it alone and let it go, but to continue to push it out. Because if you just let it go and just think, well, PORAC's going to do it for you, that's not going to get the results you're looking for. We have the platform. We do put it out there, but really it's incumbent on those associations to really push that message.
I couldn't agree more. Death and tragedy doesn't recognize whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. And our sheriff in our community is a very liberal community, but our sheriff had no problem getting on Fox News and speaking to a broader amount of people, and really pushing the message. And the Fund a Hero message came out loud and clear.
And just to add to what Damon was saying about making sure that the associations really push it out, PORAC, in addition to creating the platform, we created basically like a style guide or a media guide. So when you sign up for it, now you will get a sample press releases where you just need to fill in some names and some information, contact information. We have images for a variety of the social media platforms. And just to really stress what Damon says, it's really incumbent upon the association and the leadership in the agency to really push it out the best they can. I mean, obviously, we're doing what we can here in Sacramento, but the connectivity to the incident is in the local community.
And that's been the key that we've seen with the ones that have been really successful versus the ones that, I think they've all done okay, but there's some that have done way better than others, and you can tell by the engagement of that association, it really shows who's pushing it out and who's not.
So Barry, with the success of that campaign, within your agency and your department, did your members feel more comfortable contributing to a platform like this? That's, cops, helping other cops. What was some of the feedback overall that you got just about maybe this specific campaign and the other campaigns that they're seeing now?
So for the members of the police department, it provided that connection to those 3 children who lost their parents in those 2 tragedies. And it provided a tangible way to make a contribution. The family had a private service for Angela, which, as a result of being relatively small, the department didn't have a huge presence at it. It was small by virtue of a request from the family. And as a result, then, it became the Fund a Hero campaign, and making that contribution, seeing your name come up on the screen as being part of the Oakland Police family, contributing to the Dunakins, really had that connection to the family and the kids themselves. And then the contributions themselves, addressed real-world challenges for 3 young people. It literally put food on the table, a roof over the head, and 2 of the 3 were in school. It helped their continuing schooling as their mother's estate was settled. So it gave tangible results to those 3 children so they could, try and overcome the challenges of losing both their parents. So I think from every aspect, the campaign was a big success.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we do receive some of the feedback is, if somebody's killed in the line of duty or they die, it's like, well, they have a pension. They're going to be taken care of. And it's, the reality is the family member is the income is not going to be there. There's so many other tangible stuff that needs to be handled financially that isn't necessarily going to be covered by the benefits that are provided by the municipality or the county or the state, in a sense. So this is a way to directly impact those lives. Like you said, Mike, his kids are going to be taken care of, hopefully for the rest of their lives. At least there was some way of supporting them for the sacrifice that Damon made for the community. I mean, it's super tragic. And that's really why we're trying to push this out the best we can to let members know that this is an option. It really is a place of knowing that your donation is going to go to that family.
And with that in mind, the ability to get it out there as soon as possible prevents other people from putting out the GoFundMes. And we were able to then funnel people directly to Fund a Hero, so they weren't sidetracked by other attempts at raising monies. We really pushed them right to there. And there's a lot of people that were a little hesitant at first, but once we were able to explain to them that this was a not-for-profit, we were doing this for the officer, for the deputy, for their families, it went over tremendously.
Yeah, that's one of the big things that I try to push, and I know we as a board talk about it. It's just, sadly there are some public safety charity organizations that aren't necessarily doing the right stuff. And here at PORAC, we're making sure that the families are being taken care of. We aren't taking any money out of this. This is to benefit the family.
Something else on that too is, we put this together and we don't save any of the names that people, that donate. If they donate for this cause. They're not going to get another email saying, hey, do you want to donate for this one? There are other platforms out there that once you donate to them, it's kind of like you're on the hook, and they're going to continue trying to come back to the well over and over and over again. And that's going to turn them off for future campaigns. If you have God forbid, you have another tragedy, people are not going to want to do that again. And that's something that I think we're proud of, is that we're doing it for that individual member, and we're not doing it for anybody else. And we're not doing it to promote our name or anything else. We're doing it for the member, because that's what we're about as association leadership, is to take care of our member and their families. And so I think that's important to note, that it's I want to say it's a stand-up cause. We're not trying to do it for any other reason. Another point to make on our program, we don't have any contractual language that tells anybody they cannot use any other funding source. Our goal is to help that family for whatever tragedy they're going through, and whether they get the funding through our funding source with Fund a Hero, or they go elsewhere. We want that family to be helped. So I think it's important to note that we don't try to keep folks from using other platforms if they need be. We just encourage them to use ours.
Yeah, each campaign is an individual campaign. We're not capturing names. We're not capturing emails. You're not going to get an ad from us, and we're not selling other products by you contributing. If you're contributing to an individual campaign, it's going to that campaign, and we're moving on. And if you want to donate to another one, that's absolutely great. But
to take that one step further, the amount of monies that were donated for Damon, we've gone back to our officers and say, hey, listen, Fund a Hero is sending out another request for a fallen officer. As you said, someone passed away today in San Diego. So our officers are now attuned to the requests that come through, and we receive such an outpouring of love from everybody for our fallen. We in turn share for the others.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And, you're right. It does create that credibility that we need. And I think everybody here at the table and everybody we work with is, we're very charitable. You don't really necessarily sometimes see the charity work that we do when we're actually working. And this is an opportunity to recognize all of the people that do contribute to those funds and thank them immensely for the contributions and for helping out the families of the fallen officers. Is there anything you'd like to add or that I missed there, Barry?
I think we've hit all the major points. I would just say again, I know it's been mentioned, is that it is incumbent on the association that requests this to push it out in their local community. You bow to what Mike said, and what he did in Santa Cruz was fabulous. There was a national story behind that tragic line of duty death, but your association and Mike himself took advantage of that and used the platform created by PORAC to go out there and fundraise, and it's going to have a return to that family for years to come. So it's a huge success. But it's not just, hey, PORAC set it up and then PORAC does everything. We provide the tools for the association leader to be successful, to raise money for their loss, but they have to push it out. We don't know in various localities in California, you don't know the local TV station, the journalist, the newspaper. It's the association leader who does, and they have to drive that campaign locally in order for it to be successful.
Thank you. Well, I want to thank Barry and Mike. Barry obviously being the first, and Mike being the largest in a sense of the fundraising piece of it. Very tragic stories to both of them. So thank you for being here and sharing, some of your behind-the-scenes work on making the Fund a Hero successful. Definitely want to thank Damon for the hard work in putting this together and actually making it a reality.
And the PORAC staff, because they couldn't have done it without them, for sure.
No, absolutely, and that was definitely going to thank the PORAC staff, because they're the ones who receive it. They put it together and they get it out on all our social media platforms. The creating of the style guide. We're here as a service to facilitate and amplify your voice locally on a statewide level and on a national level. So everybody involved in the creation of the Fund a Hero, I want to thank them for the hard work that they did in putting it together and providing this platform, legitimate platform that's not out there trying to make money for the organization. It's out there trying to help the families. So thank you again for joining us on this latest episode of On the Job with PORAC. We hope you enjoyed it. Lastly, we'd like to say thank you to all our PORAC members and our nation's law enforcement. Be safe and have a great day. PORAC is California's largest law enforcement organization and the largest statewide association in the nation, representing over 77,000 public safety members since 1953. Our monthly podcasts, as well as past episodes, are available on PORAC.org, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, PORAC's YouTube channel, or where popular podcasts are downloaded. Be sure to follow us on all our social media platforms and tag us with your suggestions for future show topics. To learn more about our organization, visit us at PORAC.org. We are PORAC.